What would you do if you looked out your window right now and saw an army of thousands marching toward your home, burning everything in their path? Where could you possibly run when there is nowhere left to hide? Today, we are going to show you exactly how an entire civilization survived the impossible by vanishing into thin air. We are taking you deep into the Derinkuyu underground city, an 18-story refuge hidden beneath Turkey, and using AI to walk you through the tunnels that saved thousands of lives. But here is the mystery that still keeps experts up at night. Was this massive city built just to stay alive? Or were they hiding something much darker underground? Imagine standing in the middle of the Cappadocia region in Turkey. The landscape looks like another planet. There are strange, tall rock formations called fairy chimneys rising out of the dry, dusty ground. It looks beautiful, but thousands of years ago, this beauty was a curse. Because the land was so unique and rich, everyone wanted it. Different armies constantly swept through the region. The Persians, the Romans, the Arabs, they all came here to fight. For the local people, living above ground meant living in fear. They were always outnumbered, always outgunned. They needed a way to disappear, and they needed it fast. Now, let's travel back to 1963. A local man was just trying to do some renovations on his home. Imagine he is there, hammer in hand, sweating in the heat. He is knocking down a wall in his basement to make more space. He swings the sledgehammer, the wall cracks, and suddenly, the dust doesn't just settle. It gets sucked away into a dark void. He shines a light into the hole he just made, and what he sees makes his heart stop. It wasn't just a small empty space behind the wall. It was a tunnel that seemed to go down forever. At first, he probably thought it was just an old storage room, maybe a root cellar from 100 years ago. But as he started to explore, pulling himself through the tight, rocky opening, the realization hit him. This wasn't one room. This was the tip of a massive, hidden iceberg. He had stumbled upon Derinkuyu, the deepest underground city in the world. And when we say deep, we mean it. We are not talking about a basement with a few chairs. We are talking about a complex that goes down over 280 feet. That is about as tall as an 18-story building. But instead of reaching for the sky, it goes straight down into the dark, cold earth. Think about the engineering challenge here. Today, if we want to build a deep building, we have massive cranes, laser levels, and heavy machinery. They had none of that. They had chisels, hammers, and their bare hands. The rock they were carving into is soft tuff, which is volcanic rock. It is strong enough to hold up a ceiling, but soft enough to dig into. But even with soft rock, carving 18 stories of connected tunnels, rooms, and halls by hand is mind-blowing. It is estimated that they moved thousands of tons of rock to create this space. So, why go to such insane trouble? Let's look at the problem they faced. Imagine the fear that must have been a daily part of their lives. You are a farmer, tending to your crops. You see smoke rising from the next village. You hear the war drums. You know you have maybe 10 minutes before the enemy is in your house, killing your family or taking you as slaves. Running into the mountains doesn't work. Horses are faster than humans. Fighting back isn't an option if the enemy has 1,000 soldiers and you have a village of farmers. The situation was hopeless, or so it seemed. The solution was to stop looking up and start looking down. Derinkuyu was the ultimate panic room. But unlike the steel-safe rooms we have today, this was a fully functioning city. It wasn't just a place to stand in the dark and wait. They designed this place so that 20,000 people could live down there for months if they had to. When the warning horns blew, the entire above-ground population would just vanish. 1 minute the village is there, the next minute the doors are sealed and the streets are empty. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. How do you move 20,000 people underground without causing a stampede? This is where the open loop comes in. Archaeologists found tunnels that are incredibly narrow and steep. Some of the connecting tunnels are so small that only one person can fit at a time. This seems like bad design, right? If you are running for your life, you want wide hallways. But think about it differently. Those narrow tunnels acted like funnels. If an enemy ever managed to break through the main door, they would be forced into these tiny corridors one by one. The defenders could stand at the other end and pick them off easily. It was a deadly bottleneck. But there is another question that bugs everyone who sees this. How did they breathe? Imagine 20,000 people deep underground. They need air. They need light. They need to cook food. Without ventilation, the smoke from their fires would kill them in minutes. The answer is hidden in plain sight if you know where to look. If you walk above ground in the Cappadocia region today, you might notice small, unassuming holes in the ground, maybe only a few inches wide. Most people step right over them. These are the lungs of the city. These are ventilation shafts. These shafts run vertically through all 18 stories, reaching all the way to the bottom. They are spaced out perfectly to ensure fresh air circulates everywhere. The smoke from cooking fires would rise up these shafts and hiss harmlessly into the sky, while fresh, cool air from the surface would be pulled down. It is a passive ventilation system, so smart that engineers still study it today. But we have to ask, who mapped out the airflow? How did they know exactly where to dig these shafts so they wouldn't collapse or get blocked? It suggests a level of planning and architectural knowledge that seems far ahead of its time. Let's go back to that man in 1963. He is standing in his basement, looking into the abyss. As he starts to descend, he finds things that make him realize this wasn't just a shelter. It was a home. He finds storage jars. He finds places for oil lamps. He finds chapels. That is right, churches. They didn't just bring their bodies down there. They brought their souls. They carved massive, beautiful religious spaces into the rock. The ceilings are high. The acoustics are perfect. Even in the deepest, darkest place on earth, they found room for faith. This brings us to the agitation part of the story. Living underground might sound like a great survival tactic, but imagine the reality of it. It is cold. It is damp. The sun never shines. You are living with 20,000 other people in cramped quarters. You can hear your neighbors coughing. You can hear the echoing cries of babies. The psychological pressure must have been intense. The fear of the enemy above was replaced by the fear of the earth itself. What if a support pillar cracks? What if the stone door gets stuck? And this brings us to the biggest open loop of all. As we prepare to descend to the lower levels in our AI reconstruction, we have to ask, what was on the bottom? The city has 18 stories. The top floors were for living, cooking, and schooling. The middle floors were for defense and supplies. But the very bottom levels, they are different. They are harder to reach. They are colder. Some historians think they were used for dungeons. Others think they were used for secret meetings. But there is a darker theory. Were they hiding their treasures? Or were they hiding something else? As we stand at the entrance today, looking down, we feel a mix of awe and dread. The engineering is genius, but the desperation that drove these people to dig is terrifying. They spent generations chiseling away at the earth to prepare for a war that might never come, just to survive in a world that wanted them gone. And the craziest part? For centuries, the world forgot about it. It was just a rumor, a whisper, until a guy with a sledgehammer decided to knock down a wall. So, are you ready to go deeper? We have only scratched the surface. We haven't seen the giant stone doors yet. We haven't seen the schools. And we definitely haven't solved the mystery of the tunnels that connect Derinkuyu to other cities miles away. That is right. This city might just be one room in a massive subterranean empire. Take a deep breath, because we are about to unlock the stone doors and step inside. The dark is waiting. What is the worst place you have ever been stuck in? A crowded elevator? A windowless room? Now, imagine being stuck in a hole in the ground, 18 stories deep, with 20,000 other people, waiting for an army above you to leave. How long could you handle the dark before you started to lose your mind? Today, we are going past the entrance and into the actual daily reality of the Derinkuyu underground city. We are using AI to turn the pitch black into a bustling 3D world, so you can see exactly how life went on in the shadows. But here is the thing that creeps everyone out. If they had everything they needed down there, why were the deepest levels always kept locked? Imagine the scene on the surface. It's a normal day, maybe around the 7th century. The sun is shining, the goats are grazing, and kids are playing in the dirt. Suddenly, a scout comes racing over the hill, screaming that raiders are coming. You don't have time to pack. You don't have time to grab your favorite possessions. You have maybe 5 minutes to vanish. This is the moment the problem hits. Panic is your enemy now. But the builders of this city planned for this exact second. They designed the entrance so that an entire village could flow underground like water, funneling from the wide streets above into the narrow, calculated tunnels below. Let's follow them down. As you rush in, the temperature drops instantly. The air cools down, and the smell of damp earth fills your nose. But you aren't just running into a basement. The first thing you notice is the architecture. It's not random. There are massive stone pillars carved right out of the living rock, holding up the ceiling. Without these, the weight of the earth above would crush you. But these pillars aren't just structural. They are clever. They are shaped like the floor plan of the tunnel, matching the space perfectly so enemies couldn't hide behind them. Now, listen closely. That sound is your lifeline. We have reached the defensive line. This is where the agitation of the threat meets the solution of defense. You see, once everyone is inside, they couldn't just leave the door unlocked. They used what are known as rolling stone doors. Picture a massive round stone disc, like a huge wheel of cheese, standing vertically in a groove. From the inside, it's easy to push. You lock your arms into a small niche in the stone. You lean your weight into it, and it rolls shut. But from the outside, it is impossible to move. Once that stone clicks into place, the enemy outside is banging on a wall. They can't pry it open, they can't break it, and they can't burn it. Now the trap is sprung. You are safe from the swords, but you are now sealed in a box. What happens next? This is where our AI reconstruction changes everything we thought we knew. We always picture people hiding in caves, shivering and miserable. But Derinkuyu wasn't a cave. It was a city. As the dust settles and people light their oil lamps, you can see the reality of this underground world. It is buzzing. This isn't a funeral home. It is a functioning society. They didn't just come here to die. They came here to live. Let's walk down to the second level. This is where the smell changes. You don't just smell earth anymore. You smell animals. Yes, they brought their livestock with them. This seems crazy, right? Why bring cows and chickens into a confined space? Because the enemy above would steal or kill them. So they built stables right inside the city. There are troughs carved into the rock for feed and holes in the floor for waste. It's a messy, noisy reality, but it's essential. If you have to stay down here for months, you need fresh food, not dry jerky. But here is something that blows my mind. Keep walking past the stables, past the storage rooms filled with grain and wine jars, and you will find the kitchen. And next to the kitchen, a winery. They were making wine underground. It shows an incredible level of optimism. Even while hiding from death, they were preserving their culture. They weren't just surviving, they were trying to enjoy life. Imagine sitting in a dimly lit room, carved out of solid rock, drinking wine made from grapes grown in the sun above, listening to the echo of the underground stream flowing nearby. And that stream is another miracle. They didn't just lug barrels of water down 18 stories. They tapped into the natural water table. There are wells scattered throughout the city. But these wells were designed with a genius twist. In many underground shelters, an enemy could poison the water or drop things down the well to hurt the people below. But in Derinkuyu, some of the wells are not vertical shafts all the way to the surface. They connect to a lower water table, or they have hidden zigzag tunnels that allow air in but keep enemies and their poison out. It is a security detail that saved countless lives. Let's go deeper. As we pass the 4th level, the crowds start to thin out. The noise gets quieter. The air feels heavier. We are heading toward the religious and community centers. The ventilation shafts are working overtime here. Remember those tiny holes on the surface? Down here, they act like air conditioning. The natural draft pulls the smoke from the lamps and the heat from the bodies up and out, while pulling cool, fresh air down. It keeps the temperature at a steady, comfortable level, even if it feels chilly to us. Now we are standing in the main hall. It's a chapel. The ceiling is high, maybe 15 feet tall. The acoustics are incredible. You can whisper on one side of the room, and a person on the other side can hear you clearly. This is where the open loop from the start begins to close. They needed this. They needed this connection to something greater. When you are underground for days or weeks, the darkness can eat away at you. You lose track of time. You lose track of the seasons. Your body clock breaks. Having a church, a place to sing and pray and feel human, was the only thing that kept the panic from turning into madness. But we aren't at the bottom yet. We have to ask, why go deeper? The top levels are comfortable. You have food, water, safety. Why carve out another 10 stories of tunnels? As we descend to the lowest levels, the rooms get smaller. The tunnels get tighter. The air gets colder. This wasn't living space. This was the last resort. If the enemy somehow breached the upper levels, if they managed to burn the doors or dig through, population would retreat down here. It was a fallback plan for a fallback plan. And at the very bottom, level 18, we find a mystery. There is a tunnel here. It doesn't end. It stretches off into the darkness, too small for most people, and it leads somewhere else. Historians argue about this. Some say it leads to a water source that nobody has found yet. Others say it connects to the other underground cities in the region. And this brings us to the most mind-bending part of the story. This open loop suggests that Derinkuyu wasn't a standalone bunker. It was part of a network. You could walk from Derinkuyu to another city called Kemakek, miles away, without ever seeing the sun. Imagine the tactical advantage of that. You are an enemy army. You conquer the surface. You think you won. But the people you're hunting are miles away, popping up behind your lines to attack your supply trains. They were using the earth itself as a weapon. So, as we stand there in the dark, at the bottom of the world, looking at that tunnel, the reality shifts. We realize that the people who built this weren't afraid of the dark. They mastered it. They turned a terrifying situation into a livable, breathing, functioning city. They didn't just dig a hole. They built a future. But let's bring it back to you. If you were down there, with that heavy stone door locked tight, and you heard the enemy walking around on the roof above your head, how would you feel? Would you feel trapped? Or would you feel safe, knowing that you have outsmarted them? The builders of Derinkuyu knew something that we often forget. Survival isn't just about strength. It's about preparation and community. They didn't survive alone. They survived because they had a plan for everything, from where to put the cows to how to hide the water. And that open loop we started with, the locked lowest levels, they weren't just hiding from enemies. They were preserving their way of life so completely that even the deepest, darkest hole in the ground felt like home. The next time you are in your basement or stuck in a traffic jam, remember the people of Derinkuyu. They spent months underground, waiting for the sun, and when the doors finally rolled open, they walked back out, stronger than ever. The dark didn't break them. It just made them harder to find. Have you ever felt completely lost, like you are walking in circles with no way out? Now, imagine that feeling while you are deep underground, in a tunnel so narrow you can barely breathe, and you have no idea if you are walking towards safety or a dead end. Where would you find the courage to take that next step in the pitch black? Today, we are finally solving the mystery of that tunnel at the bottom of Derinkuyu that goes nowhere. We are going to unlock the secret highway that connects entire cities beneath the earth. And I promise you, by the end of this, you will never look at a flat landscape the same way again. But here is the biggest question of all. If this network was so big, did an entire civilization actually live down there permanently? We left off standing at the bottom of the 18-story city, staring into a dark, horizontal tunnel that stretched off into the distance. For a long time, archaeologists thought this was just a drainage ditch or perhaps an unfinished mining project. But when they sent remote cameras deep inside, they found something terrifying. The tunnel didn't stop after a few feet. It kept going and going. It runs for miles. It turns out that Derinkuyu isn't a standalone bunker. It is just one station on a massive subterranean subway system. This is the solution to the puzzle we have been building up. Imagine you are an ancient messenger. You are deep underground in Derinkuyu, and you have to get a message to another city, maybe to warn them or to coordinate a defense. You don't go to the surface. That's suicide. Instead, you light your torch and step into the tunnel. The air is cool, circulating through those invisible vents we talked about. You walk for hours in the dim light. The walls are smooth, carved by thousands of hands over centuries. You are walking beneath fields, mountains, and enemy camps, completely unseen. This journey is the key to understanding the region. The tunnel connects Derinkuyu to another underground city called Cappadocia, which is 5 miles away. But it doesn't stop there. Evidence suggests this web of tunnels connects to over 200 different underground sites across Cappadocia. Think about that for a second. 200 cities, 200 refuges. This changes the history books. We aren't talking about people hiding in holes. We are talking about a complex, interconnected civilization that had a shadow world operating beneath the real one. So let's look at the problem the invaders faced. An enemy army arrives. They see the villages on the surface. They attack, expecting to find people, supplies, and gold. But what do they find? Empty houses, cold hearths, ghost towns. They walk around confused. They think the people fled into the hills. But they are wrong. The people are right beneath their boots. The invaders are camping on top of an enemy that outnumbers them, completely invisible. Now, let's add the agitation. Imagine the psychological horror of being the invader. You set up your camp for the night. You are sleeping on the ground. Suddenly, you hear a strange noise. It's a low rumble. It's not thunder. It's coming from beneath you. You realize, with a sudden chill, that the earth itself is alive. Your enemies aren't hiding in the mountains. They are in the ground. They could be listening to your conversations right now. They could pop up behind your supply lines in the morning, steal your food, and vanish back into the rock before you can even draw your sword. This is tactical genius. By using these tunnels, the people of the underground could wage a guerrilla war that no one could defend against. They didn't need stronger armies. They just needed to be invisible. They could use the tunnels to flank the enemy, to move troops unseen, or to escape a siege in one city and appear safely in another 5 miles away. It was the ultimate military advantage. But let's bring it back to the human experience again. Living like this required incredible discipline. Imagine you are a family living in this network. You have to know the map by heart. There are no signs down there. No GPS. If you take a wrong turn in the dark, you are lost forever. The parents had to teach their children the route from the moment they could walk. Turn left at the big crack in the wall. Go straight until you smell the sulfur spring. This knowledge was their survival guide, passed down like gold. And what about the supplies? We know they had wells, but moving food between cities must have been a nightmare. The tunnels are tight. You can't drive a cart through them. Everything had to be carried on backs or dragged on sleds. Imagine the physical labor involved in keeping this network running. It wasn't just a place to hide. It was a logistical superhighway that required constant maintenance. If a tunnel collapsed, the connection between two cities was severed. People could be trapped. Engineers likely patrolled these tunnels daily, checking for cracks, clearing debris, and ensuring the airflow wasn't blocked. This brings us to the open loop we hinted at earlier. Was there something darker down there? Some of the deepest tunnels lead to chambers that are still sealed today. Why? Some legends say these tunnels hold treasure that was never recovered. Others say they hold the bodies of those who didn't make it, sealed in to prevent disease. But the most practical theory is simply security. Those sealed tunnels might lead to secret exits miles away from the city's emergency escapes that only the elite knew about. Let's switch gears and use our AI reconstruction to see the big picture. We are pulling the camera up, out of the tunnel, through the ceiling, and back into the sunlight. Now we are looking at the landscape of Cappadocia. But look at our screen. We are going to turn the rock translucent. Suddenly, the ground lights up. You can see the ghostly outline of the tunnels. You can see the chambers, the ventilation shafts, the stairs. It looks like a giant circuit board. It is beautiful, but it is also intimidating. The amount of earth moved to create this network is equivalent to moving the Great Pyramid of Giza. Think about the cooperation required to build this. These weren't just isolated villages digging holes. They had to meet up. They had to agree on the depth. They had to agree on the direction. You dig from your side, we'll dig from ours, and hope we meet in the middle. This implies a level of social organization and political unity that historians didn't think existed in this region at that time. It proves that when humans are pushed to the brink, we don't just crumble. We organize, we build, we connect. And then, one day, the threat passed. The wars ended. The invader armies moved on to other lands. What happened to the cities? They didn't destroy them. They just left. They locked the heavy stone doors and walked back out into the sun. Over the centuries, dirt and debris covered the entrances. Trees grew over them. The memory of the underground cities faded into legend. They became stories people told their children to scare them. Behave, or the ground goblins will take you. Until 1963, until that guy with the sledgehammer. He didn't just find a room. He rediscovered the lost spirit of an entire people. He pulled the light switch back on after 1,000 years of darkness. And now, thanks to technology, we can explore it without getting our feet dirty. We can see the genius of our ancestors. So, what is the lesson of Derinkuyu? Is it just a cool tourist attraction? No. It is a testament to human resilience. It shows us that no matter how bad things get on the surface, no matter how many enemies are at the gate, we have the power to dig deep, to adapt, and to survive. We can create worlds within worlds. But let's end with a final thought. If you were standing at that heavy stone door today, looking down into the dark, would you be able to roll it shut? Would you be able to leave the sun and the sky behind to save your family? The people of Derinkuyu didn't hesitate. They prepared. They built. And they survived. And the next time you walk on a sidewalk or stand on a grassy field, remember, you never know what is right beneath your feet. The world is full of hidden tunnels, secret doors, and lost cities just waiting to be found. If you found a tunnel in your basement, would you go down? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have more incredible stories from history, reconstructed in AI, coming out every week. You don't want to miss the next time we uncover a secret that the world forgot. Thanks for watching, and keep digging for the truth.